Hello, gents. It's R.P.M. here. And as the modern woman has completely priced herself out of the market, I ask you, why pay to settle when you can pay for exactly what you want? With such models as Nava, Lashandra, and for those of you who want a little more junk in the trunk, Haley and her twin sister Bailey, you can find exactly what you want at the Dollhouse, DC Dollhouse, or the Dollhouse San Antonio. And remember, gents, when the power goes out, feminism will go out right along with it. However, your doll will never experience this. When you're ready, click those links in the description box. RPM, I am out. What is going on, gents? It's RPM here, reporting from Mobile Command. Gentlemen, I'm going to be breaking down this article that has a very misleading title, particularly for you gentlemen out there. However, this reminds me of something that California put into play very quietly. Now, this article was published on the 21st of April. Manhattan to stop prosecuting prostitution, part of nationwide shift. For you brothers out there who think that this is a good thing, the devil is always in the details. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office announced Wednesday that it would no longer prosecute prostitution and unlicensed massages, putting the weight of one of the most high-profile law enforcement officers in the United States behind the growing movement to change the criminal justice system's approach to sex work. Now, on its face, that sounds like a good thing. But, as you guys always know, I always go into the details. The district attorney, Cyrus Vance Jr., asked a judge Wednesday to dismiss 914 open cases involving prostitution and unlicensed massages, along with 5,080 cases in which the charge was loitering for the purposes of prostitution. The law that made the latter charge a crime, which became known as the quote-unquote walking while trans law, was repealed by New York State in February. The announcement represents a substantial shift in the office's approach to prostitution. Many of the cases Vance moved forward to dismiss dated to the 1970s and 1980s, when New York waged a war against prostitution in an effort to clean up its image as a center of inequity and vice. Over the last decade, we've learned from those with lived experience and from our own experience on the ground. Criminally prosecuting prostitution does not make us safer, and too often achieves the opposite by resulting in further marginalizing vulnerable New Yorkers, Vance said in a statement. Once again, this sounds all good on the surface. Now here's where it gets into the muck and mire. The office will continue to prosecute other crimes related to prostitution, including patronizing sex workers, promoting prostitution, and sex trafficking, and said that its policy would not stop it from bringing other charges that stem from prostitution-related arrests. That means, in effect, the office will continue to prosecute pimps and sex traffickers as well as people who pay for sex, continuing to fight those who exploit or otherwise profit from prostitution without punishing the people for who decades have borne the brunt of law enforcement's attention. What they're saying in layman's terms, women are still able to sell sex, but it's going to be illegal to buy it. Now, California did something very similar a few years ago that flew under the radar. A lot of sex workers, quote unquote, were able to set up regular everyday men and then blackmail them with the threat of, oh, you paid for sex? I'm now going to report you to the police. Oh yeah, gentlemen, this is another way for them to try to curtail male sexuality. Gentlemen, if you're going to use the pay-to-play option, I would highly suggest you do your research. But see, once again, they're going to do even further damage. Why? Because now it's going to be driven even further underground. Manhattan will join Baltimore, Philadelphia, and other jurisdictions that have declined to prosecute sex workers. Brooklyn also does not prosecute people arrested for prostitution, but instead refers them to social services before they are compelled to appear in court, unless the district attorney's office there is unable to reach them. The Brooklyn district attorney, Eric Gonzalez, in January moved to dismiss hundreds of open cases related to prostitution and loitering, and said that he would eventually ask that more than 1,000 be dismissed. In Queens, District Attorney Melinda Katz followed in March, moving to dismiss hundreds of prostitution-related cases. Gentlemen, they're basically letting the women go. Man, talk about another army for the gynocentric society. As I stated before, a woman can proposition you for pay to play, but then turn right around and use that same situation to blackmail you. Prosecutions for sex work had already been dropping dramatically over the past decade, said Abigail Sweenstein, a staff attorney with the Legal Aid Society's Exploitation Intervention Project, which occasionally spikes, such as one during 2014 when the Super Bowl was held at MetLife Stadium in neighboring New Jersey. She added that the vast majority of her clients over the last 2 years had been women arrested in massage parlors. Whew! Sweenstein said that Vance's move would likely have quote-unquote reverberations for sex workers and trafficking survivors well outside of New York City, and that it will make them feel quote-unquote less stigmatized. Here's how you kill two birds with one stone. You kill the stigmatization and you kill the sex trafficking aspect and argument. Set up legitimate, legal brothels in the appropriate zones. That way you don't have to worry about sex trafficking. And all the women there, if they decide to work there, would be of their own free will. Once again, they don't want to solve the problem. They only want to put a Band-Aid on it and continue treating the problem. She commended the district attorney for having formulated the policy after talking to sex workers and others with relevant experience. Vance's office had been in the practice of dismissing prostitution cases after sending those charged to mandatory counseling sessions. Going forward, Vance's statement said such counseling sessions would be provided only on a voluntary basis. Sex workers have been fighting for decriminalization for decades, but the 2019 formation of Decrim NY, a coalition of organizations that support full decriminalization and has worked to lobby lawmakers, represented a turning point for the movement. Now, I'm all for decriminalizing prostitution, but I'm for decriminalizing it for both parties. Once again, there are so many women out there who are doing this of their own free will. But, as always, the moral authoritarians want to put the women who are forced into this life. I'm not going to sit back and say that that is not the case for some women. But they want to make the women who are forced into this life the whole of the deal. And that's just not the case. That is a disingenuous argument at best. In New York City, those calls have grown louder. Last month, Mayor Bill de Blasio and his wife, Charlene McCray, called on the state to end criminal penalties for sex workers. Once again, why is it that the men still need to be punished? The communities hit hardest by the continued criminalization of sex workers and human trafficking are overwhelmingly LGBTQ. I knew it! I knew it. Once again, the alphabet mafia does not represent a large part of society. So basically what they're saying, or what they're trying to push, is that the alphabet mafia is the biggest victim. Usually it's heterosexual men wanting relations with women. So no, you're not going to get that past me. They are people of color. Oh boy, they're really trying to tug at the heartstrings on this. And they are undocumented migrants. They went for the whole three-shell Monty. McCray said at the time, sex works is a means of survival for many in these marginalized groups. You can't make this up. Once again, if you look at the stereotype of the sex worker, it's usually some bummed out, street walking crack whore. However, there are so many mid to high level sex workers that there are madams. Yeah. There was a very famous madam who ended up going to jail because she did not divulge some of her clients. And odds are, if she was willing to go to jail, some of her clients were probably some of the most powerful men in the country. But, hey, it is what it is. Declining to prosecute prostitution and other related crimes, has also been a focus of candidates aiming to replace Vance, who announced in March that he would not run for re-election. The majority has said that it would halt prosecutions if elected. Eliza Orlins, a candidate for the office and a former public defender, has been particularly vocal, releasing a comprehensive policy paper on the subject in which she said that she would fight to make it legal in New York to buy and sell consensual sex. There you go. However, what she fails to say is it should be legal to buy and sell consensual sex for men. Because we all know who's purchasing the sex. Whether to prosecute those who patronize prostitutes has been a subject of consistent debate amongst feminist organizations. There you go. I knew the gynocracy was going to make an entrance. In an interview Wednesday, Orleans said that she was happy to see the shift, but it had taken too long, and that in continuing to prosecute those who patronize sex workers, the office has not gone far enough. I am glad that someone in a position as powerful as the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is finally speaking out and saying that we shouldn't prosecute people for engaging in their jobs. Of course, I'm glad, she said, but I do think that he deserves to be held out as heroic by the movement when he has not done enough and acted quickly enough. No. I'm going to reiterate this point. What they want to do is they want to make women able to sell sex, but still keep it illegal for men to buy sex. Wow, gentlemen. Just wow. Now, I'm all for pay to play. However, the way that this is going to go, gentlemen, that is not going to be an option. So, by and large, you guys know where I'm going to go. As with this video, gentlemen, if pay to play is not going to be an option, the dating realm, the dating market is not going to be an option, just get a damn doll and wait it out. Gentlemen, I can't stress this enough. They're doing everything they can to close off all male sexual options, to try to force men back onto the plantation. If you want to get sex from a woman, you have to get into a relationship. Gentlemen, no. Hell no. That's why I say, just get a doll. Just get a doll. Just get a doll. Call it even. Now, you also got to think, New York, guess what? Bill A6540. Yeah, if you deceive a woman into sex, you could be prosecuted. Gentlemen, let this society burn. Women can explore every sexual option available to them. However, men, you need to be put into this nice little box. That way, your sexuality can equate to servitude. No. No. But read the article. Let me know what you guys think. And ladies, the power will eventually go out. Feminism and every little act that you try to enact to force men onto the plantation will go out right along with it. Because in the end, a man who decides to take control of his sexuality and walks away wins in the long run. That's all I got to say for this one. RPM, I am